Right, on stage with me now, I have Lucy Moss, BBC Sport Operations Executive, Sound and Comms Lead. At the far end, Ewan Vinnicombe-Wallis, freelance consultant. Back here again, we've got Victoria Goodwin, Sharp Futures People on Demand Lead. And in the middle, there, we have the fantastic Ashley Kenworthy, freelance runner and camera assistant. So we've got the full gamut of experience on stage, which we like. So we are going to be talking about how the pressures facing young people in this region who want to join the sports broadcasting industry, or really indeed broadcast at all up here, how they navigate those issues, and what we need to kind of like create a solution along the way. So first of all, let's talk about, what do you guys see as being the main challenges for young people in this area today? Ewan, do you want to go first?
So what's been great today is I've never actually worked in sport, just to be honest, and but I used to run a show called Blue Peter, and it's been lovely because Heather and Catherine were part of Blue Peter, which says to me that this kind of site, and when we moved up, because I moved up from London to set up CBBC, CBeebies and Blue Peter up here, we suddenly just had to hire loads of new people, new friends, new colleagues that would turn into kind of lifetime friends. And what was interesting about that kind of moment and that kind of impetus is this site suddenly had live at its heart, and live sport. Obviously sport is always live, and I was in charge of like live channels on CBBC, and then Blue Peter was always live. So all those skills of that live event kind of moment we needed, and it was great to kind of hire so many people. And we found that actually the sporting community, it worked brilliantly, because in children's we worked during the week, and then all of our teams used to go and then work on the sport in the technical over the weekends and things. So I'd say, like, for a young person back then, the influx was amazing, and we got loads of new people that suddenly could just join us. And I'd say the interesting thing now about, so my job now is I've worked at Fremantle, and then I've also worked in Manchester training loads of young people to come into the industry. The difficulty I think now is navigating how you can create like that sustainable career, because there was so much going on kind of a few years ago that you could do a bit of children's, a bit of entertainment, a few game shows. You could do Jeremy Kyle. You could do BBC Sports. So you could do sports news. You could do lots of different pockets of jobs, which would then fill your week. Yeah. And my heart goes out to the young people at the moment, because you've got to kind of go, right, if that's just 2 days of TV work, what am I going to do to pay my bills? So the number of people I mentor, and they're working in Costa Coffee, or they're doing 40-hour weeks in other jobs, in other sectors, and then the TV work is on top of that. And I think that is something which the industry, if you want people to come into this industry, and you need talent, because there's people leaving the industry and people joining the industry, there's got to be some sort of way of navigating that for young people, because I really feel for them that having to do, like, you work in TV, you work long hours anyway, but if they're doing 40 hours, and I was talking at Salford Uni the other day, and some of their students, they're doing 40 hours in McDonald's, then they study, and they're still then looking for work experience to break into the industry. And that says to me, like, that passion is like incredible hours. And so kind of part of talking today is to kind of encourage, like, how can we do something a bit different?
Yes, yeah. Victoria, what do you see this region?
I'd echo what Ewan's saying. My background, very similar. I mean, I've been in sort of broadcast 30 years, and it kind of, what really strikes me now in Manchester is, there's been such a big economic downturn in production, so it's impacted every genre. So anybody coming out of school, college, uni now is really struggling to be able to find work within a 200-mile radius, let alone more, to be honest. So I think the issues young people have got is that they haven't got a network. I think if you're looking for roles in the technical area of broadcasting, it relies so much on those supervisors who hire people they know. How on earth does somebody who leaves college or uni know those people who know those people? So it's down to that network, a lack of not knowledge of network, and also I think, dare I say it, coming out of higher education today, what are we training for? Is the sector genuinely influencing what higher education is training? Because 90% of the young people I work with who are coming out of university degrees seem to be wanting to be film and TV drama producers and writers and directors. There's such a lack of ability to bring people into the technical roles and build their skill sets up. Right. So there's a huge gap between what the sector will need and what education is providing. And then, as we've heard from the other panels, there aren't many other training courses out there if you don't go uni route and then navigate your way on your own. Yeah. So what I do at Sharp Futures is try to bridge that gap between coming out of school, college, uni, and getting into the sector. So Ashley works with us. She wants to get into that camera work, and it's finding her those opportunities to make introductions with companies, with production companies, with engineering companies, with studio facilities, anywhere where I can get her in and help her on that first step. And help the employer understand how to take some risks, some secure risks. Yeah. But you've got to take more risks, and you've got to invest more in these pipelines that are local. Okay. Without the jobs coming up here, though, it's very difficult to get people into the pipeline to start with.
Sure. And as you've been mentioned already, Ashley, tell us how do you see the challenges? Because you are literally the person we're talking about.
Personally, I think is that networking, find like you're in. I think a lot of people I've talked to kind of are struggling to find their entry into the industry. I go to a bunch of networking events. I think that's a plus when you're trying to break through, because you meet so many people. There's no guarantee of work, but at least you can get tips and like know where to start, because kind of leaving uni, you kind of feel lost. And so you just need that kind of guidance to be like, this is where to go if you're like interested in a specific sector. So yeah, I think personally that's where I've been as a kind of camera trainee trying to find work.
Yeah, cool. Lucy, what do you see?
I see there's just a lack of entry-level jobs around the area, and we really struggle with that. So people trying to come in, you go, they've just finished university, and I can happily show them around the building, show them what's available, show them what we do, but actually giving them an opportunity, there's no entry-level jobs unless it's a BBC formal apprenticeship that they go through the process and get there. But then again, it's still not necessarily in that specific skill set that you want. So if you want to be a camera operator, there's not many apprenticeships that are for that. Or like for my team, we've got engineering apprentices, and they're great, and we get them in and they're fantastic, but they're not going to be the operational staff that are going to be like the next sound supervisor, because we can't necessarily train them and give those opportunities, because that's just not what is here at the moment.
Yes, yeah. So talking of opportunities, do you just want to briefly outline, Victoria, what Sharp Futures does and how you guys work?
We're a social enterprise. We were set up in Newton Heath, that's at northeast Manchester, about 13 years ago. And we focus on bringing young people into creative sector careers. So very specifically targeting people who ordinarily might not get even a look in, wouldn't even think about a career in the creative sector, but giving that opportunity. And we do it through a mix of training initiatives where employers or broadcasters and some higher education colleges and unis will run training courses with us, and we will bring people in that route. And then they will come to me, and I run basically a jobs agency, for want of a better word. We're not for profit, but we are a commercial entity. So we have to find clients who will hire young talent of all sort of abilities and desires in terms of where they want to go in the creative world. And we give them opportunities to get paid work. And alongside that, we give them a lot of support. So we'll try to be there and do, one-on-ones, career coaching. We'll give them, an idea about what the sector expects of them. And it's very much about trying to bridge the gap between what the employer wants and what the young person wants, and bring them up to that same level so both parties feel comfortable. Yes, and especially I think that, I hate to lump it all into Gen Z, but young people come with their set of expectations, and the broadcast sector in particular has a very particular set of expectations. Right. And we are there trying to close that gap. And we are trying to really give local opportunities, and we work across the north. So we've that M62 corridor. We do a big training course with Channel 4, which Ewan was one of the course director on a few years ago, and that brings in another wealth of talent from on the lead side, but we then need to give them jobs to do, because
Sure.
without that constant ability to earn money in the sector, people drop out very
Yeah.
quickly.
Okay.
And one of my kind of like biggest observations when I've been running the Channel 4 courses and a foundation that I'm working for at the minute is just giving kind of like the young, like the entry-level people, the confidence to know that they can do the job. Because I've always said, like, why not? I say to them, why not? Why not you? Just because so many people will go, I just don't think I can do it. Or actually navigating, you know, I started off, and my first ever contract at the BBC was actually titled T-Boy. That was on my contract. Now, could you imagine nowadays saying T-Boy? You would never do that. But that taught me suddenly how to be in an office. And I could suddenly see how those discussions happen, or how that person likes their tea, and different things. And it's kind of like with a lot of the training courses, and training courses do cost money, but the soft skills of when you're in an office or when you're in an OB location and someone says now, what does now mean compared to 5 minutes? Is it a TV 10 minutes, which actually means, you like, whenever you're waiting for a guest, you go, it'll be 20 minutes until we record, and you know it's going to be an hour, but you always say 20 minutes. It's learning all those navigational shortcuts. But actually, if someone doesn't teach you those things and actually exposes you to those things, it's very hard. Whereas a lot of the courses we did at Sharp Futures, we would do like the soft skills, just to say like how to actually talk to someone that could be the controller of production, or could be the person like one of your peers. And it's navigating that, because actually that will fast forward your career quicker, because people go, oh, they're really good with people, they're really good with that, and that's when like young people really thrive. And there's so much success that I've seen with actually, like, if you give them that and they've then learned the technical skills, then you see them fly in the industry. And
Cool.
someone that was who was interested in cameras as well, I met him at the Edinburgh TV Network, so I used to run the TV Network thing up at the Edinburgh TV Festival. He said, I love sport, I'd love to work in sport, because he had caring responsibilities during the week, so he could do weekend work because the caring responsibilities went away. And he said, I could do football, I can do this, I can do that. And then one of Debbie's team, I introduced him to her because I was networking for him, and just went, introduced, and then he got to work on the London Marathon, got to work on the boat race, and all these other experiences. So it's kind of what can we do as individuals to help other people network. When you don't benefit from it, it's absolutely fine. You're just moving people in the right direction, because actually I never got help when I started off, but we can do it now.
Cool. Okay. And then Ashley, tell us about your work background so far.
So since graduating university, I moved to Liverpool. So I've been residing here, and I think I was kind of from that stage of being lost, kind of looking for an entry in. So I kind of used the information kind of learnt from university, like contacting film offices, find like any kind of local kind of like media groups around. And then by chance, like I would do extra work for like money on the side. And by chance, I managed to see Sharp Futures being advertised on the walls. And I was like, let me give it a chance. Hopefully, like maybe that might lead somewhere, at least have like a start. So through Sharp Futures, I had like opportunities of front of house. And that was just, I think, for me to gain confidence, to be able to communicate and to kind of be on my feet constantly, like moving around. And then added to that, I got a lucky opportunity to be Children's and Education's content editor. So again, that was like nice to go through that kind of process of being in the industry, being a well-known company, and kind of being able to work with multiple departments. And then also through connections, through like traineeships that I've kind of just been looking around for, I've managed to be on set as a camera trainee in London. But for me personally, I want to go into camera work. And right now I'm in that process of trying to find like a way in.
Right.
And so I'm constantly looking for trainee programs. I'm constantly going to networking events just to kind of get myself out there and learn how someone like me can find the entry into the industry.
Yeah. So if anyone's here that can help, please shout. Cool. Okay. And then how do we all think that, how can young people get that foot in the door today, the one that Ashley is currently seeking? How do they meet those people and network when, like you say, you come out of university and it's like, all the support network has dropped away. What do I do now? What do you guys think?
there's a lot of industry events such as this, and keep going and meeting people. So I'm not necessarily the person that will go, here you go, I can give you a job tomorrow, but I can put you in touch with the people that will do the bookings, or I might have someone that is a camera operator that can go, here you go, contact this person. They love helping train younger people and give you an in, and they might give you the contacts to the other OB companies and the other studios, not necessarily here in Manchester, but around the region, that go, here you go, try with them, and then they might give you the shadow opportunity. And just keep at it. Just have the determination and don't let go. If it's what you want to do and your passion, that's what will get you there.
Oh, would like to add, I forgot to mention that I did have the opportunity to be a camera runner for Sunset and Vine for rigging in MediaCity, and also kind of helping to assist in Anfield. And that was lovely because it's those opportunities where you can actually interact with people. I interacted with like a couple camera guarantors. And I was just like, how did you get into it? Like, what was the process, and like what to expect while you're there? And through there, I got a lovely camera guarantor called Kirsty. She gave me this WhatsApp group. And through there, I've just constantly seen opportunities come out. I'm just like applying to see where I can go from there.
That's brilliant, because those WhatsApp groups that have been set up, so I know there's a camera one, there's a sound one, they're all really helpful, and we do interact with each other between the sound and the camera one to try and offer work and experiences to younger people. So if you're in that is perfect, and you will get there, because everyone will help you from that and go, we can do this, we can do what we can to get you there.
I think it's great, but I think it's the problem.
Right.
Because the work is in WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups.
It's like how
it's
do
a
you
closed barrier.
how do
There's
you
a
get
closed
that?
wall.
Yeah.
And I think that for young people coming out of college or uni, without somebody who explains that, or without the opportunity that Sunset and Vine gave us. So Sharp Futures, Sunset and Vine approached us about a couple of years ago, and we worked with them on their Premier League football coverage for Amazon. And they did this brilliant thing where they set up and gave us X amount of spots for people to come and have essentially runner experiences across production and cameras and crew roles. And that's that first in. Mm-hmm. But if organisations don't come and give a company like us that introduction point, those young people will never get there. Mm. And I think it's that crafting an avenue, crafting that pipeline, connecting us to the talent and to the industry. You know, we're here to be used for that purpose. We're here to bridge that gap. And I'll be honest, we're a commercial entity. If you don't use us, you will lose us. And we link you to that pipeline. Mm-hmm. You know, that community is out there, and it will fall away unless you've got somebody who brings you together. And I say that's one of the most, I think, necessary things, especially for technical and crew roles, is that you've got to have somebody making the introduction, taking down the wall of Facebook, taking down the wall of the WhatsApp group, trying to connect those people up in a transparent way.
And also I think with training, like the industry training for high-end TV, it's all through Screen Skills, which do amazing training. There's lots of online courses you can do. There's lots of opportunities. But I rarely, if not, I've never seen a sport opportunity in that mix.
Me neither, ever.
And never, so when I'm talking to students, they all go, I want to work in high-end TV, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then I was talking about sport, because I knew I was coming to this event, and they were like, sport? And I was like, yeah, there's BBC Sport on your doorstep. You could be doing all these things. And it's just interesting that actually, like, if the sporting industry got together and then lobbied Screen Skills, lobbied these organisations, so like actually then you could do a training in sport production or a technical training, and like sound trainees or engineers and things like that, because I just think there's an opportunity there which then could get a whole group of people, and it's not just doing one day boot camp. It's got to have a long tail, because I always say to people, like, you can train someone, and on the courses that we did, or the course I used to run for Channel 4 and some other foundations, they were 12 weeks, 6 weeks of a real intense training, 6 weeks in industry, in a company. We were mentoring them throughout their time at that company, but they were working. It was real living wage. They were being paid for 37 hours a week, and that actually gives that young person that confidence then to go, like, I'm earning money now. I'm going to do this, and actually it's paid for training. And sometimes it does actually end in you've got to stump up a bit of cash if you want the future people to come through and actually get people to actually stick in the industry, because they can, instead of just going, there's a one-day boot camp, good luck everyone, we'll see you in 6 months. Why has no one ever joined the industry again? Oh, it's because it was just a one Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of thinking I think we've probably got to get more into.
And especially outside of London. I think in London you've got your own little mini network. It's a little world inside itself. It can self-sustain. When you step out of that, then you need the big companies to come together in the regions to say, right, what can we do together? Because we can do it together.
So
100%.
how do we bridge this gap between, inspiration and actual jobs? Do you have any examples of where this is already happening that you've seen, or what are your ideas?
So I've just undone my phone just because I've got a list of some really successful things that have happened from this one opportunity that I played a very small part in. But 2 years ago I was working at Fremantle in their global production team, looking after all their production companies all around the world. And one of their productions came across. I met BBC Studio Works, who'd got to work with QTV, and I know Lucy's here from QTV. So they collaborated, QTV, BBC Studio Works in Scotland, to create kind of like a hub of, because they wanted to bring new trainees, technical trainees, into the industry. They also went to Screen Scotland and they worked as a real collaboration. And they came to me because the market in Scotland, obviously, Lucy at QTV could fill some of the time, and they trained 6 trainees over the course of a year. They paid them, they gave them proper training, hands-on training, and then they've done shifts at QTV, shifts at BBC Studio Works at River City, RIP, because River City, the drama's just been axed last night. So for me, I was like, that's another opportunity that's gone, because that was still training people in sound and training people in those kind of things. And then Kelvin Hall Studios in Glasgow, and when they didn't have enough shows kind of going through that pipeline, they contacted me and said, would Fremantle, what can we do with our shows in London? So whenever Fremantle had a show in TV Centre, we used to get the Scottish trainees to come down and work on it. And that gave them experience in, it was a show called QI, which is like a quiz show. Because the quiz show's so established, the trainees could actually do the camera work in the rehearsals, because the team was so confident and just go, yeah, you could do Sandy Tox fix close up, that's absolutely fine. For the real show, obviously the real camera people had to take over, but then they could still cable bash, but still had that, I've actually done that, and they could actually talk about it. And the results speak for themselves, because Kay was a freelance camera operator, and they use him every week now at QTV. Sean has got a permanent job and is a camera operator. Callum has just left QTV to go freelance as an audio assistant, but he'll still be doing kind of work for QTV. And Ben's been a full-time broadcast engineer with QTV, and George is a tech producer with QTV. And so it just shows that actually they're in different sectors, they're all coming together, and actually it's delivered 6 new people into the industry, and they've got careers. And that says to me kind of that is actually where different things, I know there's the Amazon Craft Academy that pay brilliant wages for people and then find them opportunities. It's what can we do to think a bit differently as a collective, that they could be on a game show for Whisper, but then they could also be on an OB for BBC Sport. They could be in BBC Children's, or they could, just think in those kind of ways.
Because I think there's that transferability of skills, which goes back to the original panel, is that we need to make sure everybody feels that they can get work no matter where it is. Moving around, and I say this to everyone who's on my books, is just keep using the skill set that you are good at, no matter where it is. Go find that work in what looks like a non-creative company. They will still need potentially somebody who is shooting, editing, creating. You're using that skill set and developing it. And then when the opportunities come, we had a similar thing where Steph's Packed Lunch over in Leeds did a lovely, they trained up 6 people with us on camera skills. So they were doing the rehearsal camera, and off the back of that somebody then went and did Sunset and Vine, and so we were able to create a network of jobs and employers so people can build. All those 6 people, one is now full-time with Limitless Broadcast, she's camera opping on loads of sport gigs, and the others are either BBC or freelance and actively using the skills.
Right. So
it really is about coming together as a network, I think.
Okay, so on that coming together thought, what do you all feel is the responsibility of sports broadcasting stakeholders in this region? There's broadcasters, there's OB companies, there's production companies up here. What should they be doing to create opportunities for young people? What should that collaboration look like? Any thoughts?
I think that there is something to be said around the way broadcasters contract, and that writing quite tight clauses into bringing through that next set of talent is important, and putting it into the requirement for OB suppliers, crewing companies, the production house that's making it on their behalf, whatever that might be, that needs to be there, and it needs to be followed up on. It's not just it's down in the small print. It really is about that bringing through the impact and looking locally. Don't let companies come out of London and produce with their London teams. Have that clause in that says hire locally and evidence the local.
Yes.
And it might be fine to bring people out and put them on a training course and bring them up from London, but then they go back to London. They don't stay in the local area. It's not impacting the local economics if you're not training the people who live here. So that for me is important.
I think there was a massive gap once BBC Resources got sold off, and that was like the training hub for everybody in any specific skill area. That dropped off because the BBC sold off that arm of the company. And from then, everyone's found it hard. So the OB companies out there are trying their best and offering apprenticeships and offering different schemes within them, but they're not necessarily, because of where the OB company is based, regional. So unless there's an OB company based in the north, there's not necessarily that amount of people from this area that are going to benefit from it. But there is still a massive shortage because of that. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, and the OB companies that are doing it offer great schemes, and they do it really well, and the people that come out of them, you go, fantastic, next. And a lot of them go freelance straight off the back of it. They go, right, we've learnt all that, we can go freelance now. They know they can work wherever they want, and then they might move back up north and go, it is now sustainable to do that.
Well, the one thing I would say is through Shop Futures, I've had a lot of opportunities. So I think kind of investing into kind of agencies like Shop Futures can be so beneficial because you have a good group of young creatives who are looking to get into work. So I think if you can make that connection, it will be beneficial in the long run because it's like a straight pipeline. People come out of the university, they find the agency helps them work, and then you have a good source of creatives in your context. So that's where I would personally say, because my experience through Shop Futures and working with Victoria has been so beneficial. I'm able to have one-to-one meetings where I can learn my strengths and weaknesses and work out how to properly interview. And I think that's something that you can get kind of brief teachings in university, but it's not as hands-on. And I think that's what we need, is to be able to train the next generation to be competent in kind of transferring those skills into the industry.
Sure, yes.
And I would say, for all the kind of broadcasters, production houses, kind of technical companies, all of that, it's just think back to when you started and go, God, I was actually, you survived off air and you kind of didn't earn much money. Nowadays, I feel it's really tough. And the number of young people I talk to, and I just think, God, I would never leave my house, because you could never afford to leave your house. It's like the University of Salford, most of their students, where do they come from? Salford, because they can't move out. They can't live in a different city. They don't have those opportunities because actually it's really expensive. So it's like, if in the north, collectively, people could chip into something which actually then delivers a bigger outcome and a long tail outcome for this region, that would be a really good thing, instead of doing maybe small things which sound great for a press release, but what actually does the outcome do for the actual local economy. Because actually we've got a massive city. I'm really proud of, I'm from Watford originally, but I'm a Londoner, then I'm a proud Manchester. And I chose to move to Manchester. I love it. And sport is amazing in Manchester because you just have so much. So it's it feels like there should be a real there could be a real kind of moment here to deliver something special.
Yeah. I mean, does it mean that, should broadcasters, I'm staring at you, sorry Lucy, but should broadcasters put, conditions into their RFPs, like you must have a minimum number of trainees per head of crew that you're using or something like that? Or is that not conducive to...
It could be, but it then affects the budget of the production budget. And so you've got to balance it out, because there's not necessarily on one particular sport going to have a budget where you can go, yes, we can have 3 trainees that you've got to bring and we'll give you the money for them. So it's the balancing of what we can write in an RFP depending on what it is. and that might be a bit too restrictive.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's a broader market here. There are lots of football clubs who have got club TV. It's the same skill sets. You know, there's that side of it as well. And I think, you know, as a collective, if everybody comes together, a bit as like Ewan was saying, it's fine if we're doing all these little small things here, there, and everywhere. But if you come together as a collective, you can have a bigger impact, and you can make a bigger legacy.
Yes.
I think. And you know, there's lots and lots of things that could be done, but I think it's looking to that broader context and saying, you know, the power of the Premier League. What can that do? What should that do?
Yes.
Where's it getting its skill sets from? And what can we do as a group to power it?
Yeah. Ewan, do you want to?
And I was just thinking of, like, when we moved up, it was like Manchester International Festival, I think was the following year. And you just think of all those sound kind of soup jobs, or all that sound, all that could be an amazing training ground as well. And it's like, we should be having those conversations to go like, okay, so in a quieter sport year, if there is ever one now, there could be Manchester International Festival kind of technical roles. And it could just be creating that kind of Manchester circuit.
I mean, on the other side, if there isn't, I mean, the word is collaboration, that's what's coming out. If there isn't that collaboration for this region, I think if anything above Luton is the north, but, you know, this is Manchester, we're definitely north here, you know, but what are the consequences? Does everything come out of London? You know, like, wasn't going to say it, but Traitors in Scotland, it's up there, it's getting funding, and they bring crew from London. So, you know, what happens?
As an independent person, I would say, like, it's just really, like, when we moved up, I don't think we ever fell off air. I don't think we ever did anything wrong. I think Blue Peter always still went to air. So I don't know how that happened with all these people that didn't know what they were doing in the regions. It's like everyone knows it. You know, like, I think you just have to sometimes you just have faith in actually the people that you're employing, because actually you know that they've done a certain amount of, you know, like they've worked on regional news. We did a big collaboration with North West Tonight, and I bumped into the editor of North West Tonight on Monday when I was on my evening walk, and it was just like great to see her again, because I remember that time 2 years before when we went, should we collaborate about kind of our technical side of things, and it's just like different things. I think we just all have to.
And I think
just go for it.
If we don't, especially at this point in sort of what I call a real downward economic spiral of lack of commissions coming anywhere, let alone out of London, I think if we don't pull together at this point and harness the community and harness the young people who are coming out now who are keen, that keenness dries up pretty quick. And then suddenly, if and when budgets are released in terms of commissions and more rights holders, you know, might lower their prices and there's more production, where's the talent going to come from in order to service that next group of jobs that come out? Because people were saying, you know, post-pandemic, a lot of people retired out of the industry. Yeah. And since then, since the market has dried up even further, there's 75% of freelancers out of jobs in the last 18 months. So things are drying up very quickly and the opportunities aren't there. We'll turn around and go, oh, we've got all this programming output we need and we've got no one to make it. So I think it's about keeping a community warm. And, you know, when there aren't many jobs, what can we do to keep those people, A, economically just head above the waterline, and B, keeping their skills going and keeping them excited about the opportunities. So I genuinely, I think it does go back to collaboration and community. Yeah. And coming together across the north. And like I said, the north is a big patch. You know, it can pull and survive and help people thrive by that unity.
Cool. And on that note, shall we do it? Come on. So I know in the audience, because I did invite some people specifically, so we've got BBC rather strongly here actually. There is QTV, there's Cloudbase, NEP, EMG Gravity, you're all in the room. There should be Sunset and Vine, there should be Whisper here, you know, all these great, hello. There's all these excellent production companies. We've got Badger and Coombs, who I never heard of before we were doing this event as well, so now I know you guys too. So yeah, there's all these excellent people in the room. So I think that SVG Europe can provide a kind of neutral platform to bring you guys together to actually talk and work out how you can create concrete opportunities for young people moving into this industry. And we've got you as well, Sam. So yeah, I mean, who's up for it? Put your hands up if there is interest in opening this discussion in the future, now, tonight, well, over some wine, and in the future, and actually kind of trying to change things here. Any? Steve, that's cloud-based, that's QTV. Yeah, Black People in Sports Broadcasting, yes, good. Oh, I see, the EMG people at the back, great, good. And BBC are in, cool, okay. Excellent. Does anyone have any questions for my panelists? Yes, we have Lucy behind that large plant over there. Oh, can someone give her a mic? Yeah. Didn't want to say anything about that.
Hello. I just wanted to add to the point that you guys all said about collaboration. Thank you, Ewan, for talking about the collaborative traineeship that we've done with BBC Studio Works. The main thing about the collaborative effort is when so Sky Sports do in their RFP, they demand essentially that you're going to put a tech assist or that you're going to put a junior entry-level role. That really, really helped facilities providers or production companies that are independent of our size to do that because they're paying for that. That's now in the budget. And so the collaborative aspect of it can really, really help to understand the difficulties and challenges from each area. So quite often it's not as easy to just say, well, we'll absorb the cost of bringing people in for real living wage traineeships, but then you have to think very cleverly about it of going, you mentioned Screen Scotland, to fund half of that. We've just done the same because we're opening up a base of operations actually to do a remote production facility at some point as well, just to plug that. Someone mentioned remote production in the previous panel. And we worked with Screen Yorkshire to model the same thing because we're not going to be able to have a bunch of trainees for 12 months at real living wage. We can't afford that on any planet because that's not in the budget of most of the work that we're doing. Most of the work that we're doing, you've got the crew budgeted and that's it. There's nothing in there. Apart from the Sky RFP, there's nothing in there for trainees. So you have to work with the funding providers at government level. There'll be one in Manchester. Screen Yorkshire have obviously been really keen on us because we did it in Screen Scotland. So I'm happy to talk to anyone who is linked with any sort of government agency who can understand where the funding might come from so that you can actually offer those sort of 8-month, 8-month, 12-month traineeships because those are the ones that at the end of it, they've learnt the craft and then they can be freelance and get their bread and butter.
Cool. Any other questions? Yep, Alicia. And sorry about the extra noise. It's the audience, I think, for Comic Relief being filmed this evening. So
I really was interested in what Ewan and Victoria said. So I work for BPSB with my mum. I do it on the side, so I'm a student. Where do I go to university? Manchester Metropolitan University, yeah, that's where I go. And then my full-time job right now, so I do a placement. So I do Black People on the side, Black People in Sport on the side, and I work for the council currently. So I do advertising, so marketing and communications for them. But I think one thing I found that was so difficult, like getting into the creative industry was, one, like a barrier to costs and the lack of experience. It was so difficult. I'm originally from Leeds, so I used to live with my mum. I moved here like a couple of years ago, and me just trying to find jobs. So even just to pay the bills is so difficult. So even to go to a job interview, you know, like having to like dress a certain way or, you know, to portray yourself in that kind of way, there's a lot of barriers for me to do that. And sometimes I know that resilience is very good, but it's very difficult. The amount of no's I've had compared to yeses, like I'm currently trying to find something for after I've left university to help me pay the bills whilst I do my work on the side, building Black People in Sport. But it's like I don't want to leave the industry. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. I don't want to leave the industry, like to go back to, I used to work in retail, so I can pay the bills to go back, because then I've taken a year out. The industry changes so quickly. So it's like, how do I find these opportunities? Like, where do I go? Obviously, I'm going to check out Sharp. Is it Sharp Futures? I've searched that up when you was talking, because I feel like it's really interesting, but it's really difficult to kind of find that. the gap between leaving university or being in university and trying to find opportunities.
Thank you, Alicia. Yes, yeah. I mean, you're here in the room now, which is great, and I know who you are now as well. I didn't know it's your mum. Though now you've said it, it's like, yeah, totally. But yes, yeah.
And I'm not sure I can answer all of it in terms of going. I don't know whether we can't fix it in one go. We can definitely chat later, though.
Yeah. Fab. Okay, right. What I'm going to do, very old school, I'm going to leave a bit of paper over here on the badge desk. If you are interested in creating some sort of collaborative group where we can at least get together and have a discussion sometime in the next few months up in this area, please jot down your name, company, contact details, and I'll get in touch with you after this and we'll work something out. Sorry, my bosses. Okay, right, on that note, thank you very much to my amazing speakers. Please give them a big round of applause.